That's a solid one.
Listen, you're sitting in between two architects, so we'll grab hold of you.
And I've realized people in Hyderabad are really sensitive towards their culture. Every space has its own energy.
Design's job is to solve a problem.
Hi, I'm Shantanu Garg, Creative Director, Shantanu Garg Design.
Hi, I'm Pranav Misra. I'm the co-founder and the creative director of the brand Human.
I'm Sanchit Arora. I'm the principal architect at Architecture+Design Interior Studio.
And here we are today to give you an inside view with Architecture+Design and Lifestyle Asia. So for me, design and is basically resting on a detail, and that detail sometimes for me, maybe it's not visible. For me, detail is the story, the context, because it is very important for me to respect the heritage and the culture and the personality for whom we are working for.
The interesting thing is, while we're sitting right now, I just realized that what we are wearing is somewhat a sort of a brief introduction to what our personalities are right now, as we're sitting, right?
You
know,
correct.
I am a millennial trying to be a Gen Z. Pranav is wearing his personality through and throughout, and with Shantanu, you know, the whole idea of him sort of trying to kind of put India in its you know, the truest form of culture and heritage and architecture coming through his work on the map has been really interesting for me. And honestly, from what I see, that juxtaposition of architecture and fashion that's been happening, it kind of all revolves around, I think, form, function and materiality for that matter, and the emotion it kind of gets through those three aspects that I've just mentioned.
Yeah, I think what you said, you know, in the beginning of your thought was with respect to, I believe, depth and the story behind detail in design. And just to add to that, because that's a very interesting point, I think principally I also feel that detail is almost like a signature, you know, or like a, you know, alternate personality to who you are or what your work is. Any kind of detail, you know, like the kind of silhouettes that you work with, or even for that matter, how a person would take pauses while forming their sentences is reflective of their own personality. That's also a detail. So detail is extremely important especially when you're working in a creative field. And to come up with a signature line, it kind of, as we were talking earlier also, it's almost like accidental. You have to keep falling down 100 times to actually figure out where do you want to start with, what is it that you want to be known by.
I'll tell you, backstage when we were discussing not human, but humans, right? And that is how I want to kind of align the thought of design and fashion, is the fact that what Shantanu said, and said it really beautifully, is that humans discovered straight lines, right? There was no straight line, right?
Yes.
I mean, it
is our invention, actually. We invented. So why not we celebrate that, and why are we just want to make design organic unnecessarily?
Right.
But sometimes I feel that finding perfection in imperfection is a very interesting philosophy, maybe because human became too perfectionist, and they wanted to do something imperfection. They wanted to bring in imperfection in the visual so that they can calm themselves. Like, how do you see it? Like, because we were discussing about wabi-sabi as a trend internationally, like, you know, it's growing and it's now reaching to the country like India, which is like, I feel like has a lot of
different aesthetics.
Yeah. So I just wanted to understand from your perspective, do you think detail means a design has to be perfect? And what do you mean by perfection?
That's a solid one.
Listen, you're sitting in between two architects, so we'll grab hold of you.
I think, you know, since for as long as I can remember, I've never, you know, taken design very seriously. You know, I feel like I'm still a child the way I was growing up in Lucknow, and everything I've done in life with design or just generally in life also has been very accidental. One thing leads to another.
For you, Shantanu, I mean, from what I see and what I hear from him is the fact that you as an architect and a designer are also venturing out into different disciplines. For that, I must say, let's say jewelry design, or let's say fashion for that matter, or let's say a clothing line that you're looking at. How does that breed into it? I mean, how does that, curate your design essence into the clothes you're doing? Is it a personality thought process that you're looking at? How do you fold through the emotions? How do you fold through the materiality? How do you fold through, let's say, the forms for that matter, as an architect that I'm talking? Because I'm trying to kind of juxtapose both of you as the personalities, and I'm trying to learn because I'm a young architect. Basis that.
Yeah. So the thing is, when 2016, when I became more sensitive towards Indian heritage, and I realized I was a pure modernist, very West influenced designer,
Wabi sabi.
straight line, and like I want to do everything straight line, very abstract. But then I got a client from Hyderabad, and I've realized people in Hyderabad are really sensitive towards their culture. So when these clients came, they are like, they are entrepreneurs, globally influenced, well traveled. They said that we need a modern home, but we also want to reflect our cultural identity. And that's when Shantanu Garg designs research on Indian design and how to make that Indian design above ethnicity, how I can make that Indian design more globally palatable. So now what happened with time, I practiced it so much, there was some sort of a Shantanu Garg design lens that fitted here. Whatever product I'll see, I'll try and imagine it in a particular motif, Indian motif. Like say, even if I'll see like a baccarat crystal glass, I'll try to see a cut glass in an Indian jali pattern. Like naturally, like everything, even if I'll see an interesting car detail, I'll see, okay, if this curve would have been in a Padma shape.
But something that you were saying, earlier, and it left an impression on my head while you were talking. Do you guys, not just you, but do you guys, when you walk into spaces, do you evaluate the spaces in your head? Do you have a judgment in your head? Do you
100%.
a dialogue in your head going on?
All the time. There's always, like for me, first thing is that why this place is like that. What is the logic?
Same.
This is the first thing that comes in my head. Why it is like this. So
is it just the lines, the shape, the environment, or materials, or?
yes. So basically, when you enter into a space, I feel that every space has its own energy, and that energy is basically delving on a content, and that content is and when it doesn't have, you will figure it out.
When you kind of talk about what is an experience, because we at Renaissance kind of design a lot of hospitality projects as well as retail, and you have to understand that spaces now, what I've lately been seeing, are designed in frames, and this is exactly what we were discussing. These the pictures that you see on Instagram or the social media is just so beautiful, and then you kind of vouch for these spaces, but then is that the same experience you're getting in 360-degree movement of the space? I'm not sure. I'm definitely not sure. And that is where my idea comes, that in designing, let's say, commercial spaces or hospitality spaces, it is the overall experience, that what is the form out there, what is the emotion you're getting out of that form, what is the utility of that space kind of adding to
Music.
the form. Yeah, let's say the music as well, you're a big fan of music, if there is no, the kind of music that's also playing, plays an important role. And I think
The aroma.
yeah, the aroma as well. That is the, let's say, the fifth dimension of the space,
Even let's talk about integrity now. So every design, if it is honestly done, if it has certain level of integrity in its inception, in its process, it is seen, it's quite visible, like, it renders that visual, that it is fresh. One thing which really, I get super bummed when I see ugly copies.
Oh yeah.
That is something which I feel that it's a, that's or even when client comes to me and say, okay, I want to build a house in New Delhi and I want a New York loft look.
Well, so that kind of forms a question. We are always designing for clients, right? But when you're designing a line, you don't know what is the, the
End user.
the end user needs. right?
No, there is, because I mean, that's why I asked that question also initially, because creativity, I think, the initial phase of my career also was kind of arrogant, where you think, I mean,
You made it.
any kind of job with respect to creating something, creation itself is almost like you're creating something out of nothing. It gives you a sense of edge. I think to what you said, clients are on our mind, because at the end of the day, design's job is to solve a problem. It's to address somebody's need who will eventually turn into your client. So there is a lot of data, there's a lot of analysis that goes on at the back end,
Yeah.
based on our consumer behavior. But constantly, to also keep innovating, we have a 70-30 principle that we design with.
Okay, what is that?
Which is what we were talking about, disruption, which is talking about coming out of our comfort zones. So 70% is innovation and 30% would be familiarity.
The whole experience, you're designing it at a micro level and we're designing it at a macro level. So how do you feel about that, the creative, the envelope or the juxtaposition of fashion
that
and
experience,
architecture? Happening.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, and like the same feeling I get when I add layers in my work. When it is a large space, I would like to layer it up. So when you layer it up, when you add, let's say, a wall in between, a free plane in between, it has some sort of interesting
Forms.
experience to render
Okay.
to someone who's there in the space. So let's say, for example, if I enter in a space, I don't want to see that space just like that. It's like looking at someone's body, right? There's some level of curiosity that's developed the moment you add a layer. In a large space, if you just put a carpet, it is going to create another space within a space.
So from what I understand is the fact that you're saying that the forms, the materials, the spaces, the proportions is something that is going in parallel for you towards the human body, hence human, for you in terms of the scales of the experience of that body in that space. Correct? How do you do that in your the clothes that you design?
Doing mistakes and learning your tricks, but obviously, like, the evolution of design also depends on the amount of, could be the spaces that you have the opportunity to experience, or could be the places that you visit, the books that you read. And I think it's like a constant journey. There is no I don't think even for you guys it must be a formula that there would be, but I think
The said formula would be the language.
Yes.
Yet, but it changes
yeah,
with time.
so there is a certain, like, you can define what Shantanu is in probably like a statement, but again, for me personally, I still feel like always trying to figure out and what is another extension, or like you said, another layer that I might myself wouldn't have discovered so far.
And also in terms of, like, I think we should also discuss about the integrity of the material. So say, for example, for me, if integrity is the core of our practice, in terms of, even if I'm using a marble, it has to be a marble. It cannot be a tile that looks like a marble. Yeah. So similarly for you, are there any material that like a cotton has to be a cotton, or it has to be a certain level, it has to be engineered to make it more sustainable? How do you approach material?
I mean, to a larger extent, yes. There isn't such a clean black and white to that. Totally depends. Like, for example, if you're making wind cheaters and you're making raincoat, you have to work with certain synthetic materials for you to or if you're making for something for an extremely cold environment like minus 30 degrees and minus 20 degrees, then you need to work with correctly with the fillings of feathers and all and things like that. I think the sustainability comes into picture. Are you doing justice to your environment? Because what is sustainability? It is to the amount that it's needed. You should only be making that, not over exploiting your environment.
Like similarly for us also, like how the traditional window systems, like how they used to be not thermally insulated or they were not weather protected, and now how we have a technical window systems and glazing systems that we are using. It's just that it's not about like resources sometimes, it's also about the sustainable aspect, that it has to sustain a particular environment or a task.
Yeah. No, so I'm curious because obviously in our field, we, collect our collections over a period of time, and considering Delhi, our, warehouse and studios in Delhi, during monsoons, we've ourselves faced, in fact, certain sense of dampness coming into picture and things like that. And there is a set procedure with which we, pack and, safeguard, but annually we have to keep revisiting, and we have to keep, and there will be some or the other, problem that would occur, and then we have to kind of retouch up. Is there a permanent solution to that from a, architectural point of view?
I mean, honestly speaking, having done so many retail spaces by now, and I think majorly if I look at it, the overall scheme of things, a retail space is actually defined by a lot of ergonomics of the human body as well as the kind of clothes that is there. A boutique store or a bespoke store in terms of a bridal wear would be different to, let's say, a human brand as a brand, in terms of the way the heights would change, the spaces would change. But if you're making the store in a, let's say, a wet climate altogether, I think how do you kind of close it or layer it in terms of kind of moisture, sort of moving away from the moisture in that zone of the clothes that are kept, is what we're looking at in terms of architecture. So that goes back to the whole idea of layers, circulations, ergonomics, and the look and feel and the ambience that you want to give to a store.
See, of course, a good design always considers all these parameters. Let's say, for example, if I'm designing in a coastal climate, let's say, for example, for all my wardrobes, they have a dehumidifier integrated in the design. So you have to you have to protect the boots also. You have to protect leather goods also. Like if you're designing in Mumbai, which is sea facing, there's a lot of considerations that you have to look into, and that is quite. That's what our job is, to add, so to basically add that technical aspect that can combat these kind of a situation. Fashion really influences my work. I take a lot of inspiration from fashion, be it the technique, the craft, the way you detail the product, and similarly we use it in our upholsteries and in our use of textile and the use of colors. We take. I want to ask you, you just design for human, or you are also open to design for a furniture? I was imagining one of my chair wearing a jacket, and that idea is in my head and I can totally see it taking a very interesting shape. What about adding another layer to a physical object, a non-living object?
Is that an offer?
Yes, it is.
No, I mean, on a serious note, our consumers, for that matter, we try to get an idea of their lifestyle, and more than clothes, in fact, that's an extension of their lifestyle. What they eat becomes a source of inspiration for us. The rooms that they walk in or like to walk in become a source of inspiration, and so does furniture and things like that. And over the last few months, we've also kind of steered into that lifestyle segment where we've come up with simple products like cushion covers, cushions, just trying to take one step closer to being as close to their daily life as possible. That's a very interesting. We've now thought about it, but a very, very interesting way to kind of bring both of these tools together to make the user experience more enhanced. I think definitely would work.
So guys, the team out here has organized something really interesting. It's a rapid fire, so I'll be asking you questions and you're most welcome to answer it back. Come on, Shantanu. So my first question is, you have to be this or that, right? So when it comes to detailed work, minimalism or maximalism?
I think realism.
Whoa.
Shantanu, for you?
Controlled maximalism.
Love it. For me, I think if you would have asked me last year, I would have said minimalism. But this year, my sort of new change and process has changed. I think I'm also changing.
We are acknowledging
with
our
time.
roots.
We are acknowledging finally maximalism as a process now.
Oh, my
Ask
turn.
us a question now.
City studio with smart storage or countryside villa with sprawling closets?
Both.
I would say the last one, the latter.
Yeah?
With
No,
this
I
one.
need the hustle of a city as well. So
Oh yes, I do as well. So I would say both as well.
I prefer sometimes New York over Tuscany. So
Okay.
Me, definitely countryside. There's a poem with, I've just remembered, I write in Hindi.
yes, yes.
So, उसमें कुछ लास्ट में आई थिंक लाइन था कि एक वक्त के रिलेटेड टू रिलेशनशिप समथिंग लाइक लास्ट का लाइन है कि एक वक्त के बाद मोहब्बत भी रास नहीं आती पर आदमी की प्यास बरकरार रहती है कभी किसी शरीर में सुकून मिलता है कभी किसी शहर में जो महसूस करने को भी बार बार दोनों से बहुत दूर जाना पड़ता है
Wow.
Oh.
So even to
Wow.
kind of feel the magnitude
Wow.
of urban life, you have to leave the urban life to kind of.
Wow.
That's fabulous, but okay. Humidity proof home or stylish yet high maintenance interiors?
I would say I'm more like a service guy, so I would say humidity proof room.
For sure.
For
Yeah.
sure.
You?
For sure, yeah.
Okay, for me, stylish yet high
Come on,
maintenance
Shantanu.
interiors. Velvet curtains or linen curtains?
Again, if you would have asked me last year, I would have said linen. But this year, there's been a change in my mood, and I'm all about like velvet curtains now. Suddenly. I'm more eclectic this year. I don't know why.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about my answer. I think it totally depends on that space, no?
Space, yes.
Of course.
No, but okay, you say.
What's your mood?
That's your mood.
What's
But
your
if I
mood when
close
you
my
say?
eyes and think about it, linen curtains is something that, you know, I'm
Flows
more
well for you.
attracted to. But if the demand is like if it's my TV room, I would prefer velvet curtains because of just the way everything
Yeah.
will get blocks out.
And for me, I always love the fall of a velvet curtain.
True.
The way it falls, it's beautiful. It's like a nice gown that layers a body.
I can already imagine him walking in his house like a
Yeah.
nawab.
He is
With
a
a
king.
hookah in his
He's a king.
hand.
He's a king. Yeah. He's a king.
Okay, fresh flowers everywhere or fabric art display?
I am more of a lilies person. And I love the smell, like the fragrance of lilies, and just want the house filled with lilies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fresh flowers,
100%.
definitely.
For me, baby's breath.
Oh yes.
Okay, wardrobe of your dreams or the perfect living room?
Perfect living room,
Okay.
because I spend most of my time on a weekend in my living room, not in my wardrobe.
I mean, what is a perfect living room?
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's wardrobe of your dreams.
No, it's beautiful living room. I mean, clothes, however,
Yeah, I mean, I don't
You know.
care. I'll throw those clothes off.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you know,
mean,
like-
I think because that space becomes far more, I would say, you're breathing in it. So
You're meeting
wardrobe of
people
your
in it.
dream is okay because at the end of the day, clothes are an extension of your personality. So even if you do not have anything on your body, as long as your thoughts are wise, you will still be able to exist in society. But if your space becomes something which is coming in the way of your thought process, then it becomes, challenging for you to
Roadblock.
survive.
Shantanu, what's your answer?
My answer is the perfect living room while I'm sitting in my wardrobe of dreams. So for me, both.
Nice.
For me, like a good wardrobe is really, really important because I really love the way I engage with my wardrobe every morning when I get ready for the day.
No, I told you he's a
And
Nawab.
what-
It's very interesting because I like to engage as little as possible with my wardrobe.
True, same
Like
here.
I don't want to think about
What I wear
clothes
one
when
night
I'm
before.
crossing my wardrobe. Maybe because I'm, surrounded by so much
now
of it.
my dream wardrobe has become so staged that Now I want those boxes where my my every
Organizers.
look is in a box, where
Wow,
I don't have
wonderful.
to, like, you know, I don't have to just think about it. If I want to make it efficient, like I want my pocket square to my shirt to my trouser, everything in that package. And how because I have worked a lot in preparing that package, and like, you know,
Yeah.
and then it sort of, I love to be organized, so like that is something which I really dream about.
Do you love to be organized so that it saves time, or is it a well thought look that you have in your mind?
I think it's the OCD.
Yeah, I told you.
I mean, being organized
Nawab,
is
Nawab.
key.
Yeah.
Key. I mean, I like to also do that because of the fact that I don't want to pay attention. So everything will be very, very well organized from how I keep my kurta, so that I don't have to re-iron it again and again.
Yeah.
But I don't want to think before dressing up, before leaving my space, that okay, this is how I want to look. In fact, I don't want people to pay attention of what I'm wearing at all. So my effort is that you do not pay attention to what I'm wearing. You must pay attention to what I represent as an ideology. If clothes are coming in the way, then I feel those are not the right clothes for me.
Pranav, is it easy for you because you have how many pairs of kurta?
I have.
Yeah, 10 of them?
I mean, no more.
One day is white, one day is
No, no
black,
more.
one day is...
No, I really enjoy that line by Karl Lagerfeld that sweatshirts or sweatpants are the sign of a defeat.
You can edit this part out.
Yes, please.
Just add a beep sound to this. Because
I only wear those, yeah.
that category is a big part of our bread and butter.
Oh, really?
So
No, but
just ignore whatever happens.
listen,
right
I'm
now.
that
But then
category.
imagine how you
I'm that category.
but how you can glorify, but how you beautifully have glorified it, no? But of course, I really enjoy this statement when I get ready and I give a lot of attention to every single trinket that I wear. So then, a lot of times, so when I posted this particular quote, so one of my friend responded, "I accepted defeat long back."